Well, you nearly got a bit of Liz Storer singing during that break. We're about to wrangle with Sky News host Liz Storer on the desk with me and columnist and commentator Justin Smith joining us from Melbourne. You missed out on the singing, Justin. Hey, we got to talk about cost of living. The confirmation today in these GDP numbers that per capita GDP is going backwards. No wonder people are feeling the pain. Yet Tony Burke, we learned that the federal employment minister spent over $50,000 on a 4-day trip to the US. This is just outrageous. 44,000 of that on flights, up at the pointy end of the plane. Justin, this is the sort of stuff that makes us all puke.
Yeah, it really does. And this one comes back to value. So if he spent $50,000 on the trip and we got, $50 million out of it at the other end because he did that trip and he did it that particular way, well, that's a different thing. But I think the three of us know that that's not really going to be the answer there, that we're not going to get the value out of it that we should. And the thing that really, really ticks me off about this is you watch this, the opposition won't go after him because they'll be just as guilty. They would have done just the same kind of things when they were in government. And so it's really up to the independents or whoever to really go after them and say, hey, listen, what is the value here? What are we getting out of this $50,000?
That's where a PM should show leadership, because you got to trim your sails, you got to sort of live your words. They don't do it. And of course, Tony Burke, we were reminded today, was one of the ministers who went hardest at Bronwyn Bishop, who was actually in Australia going to something work related, but took the chopper. But he doesn't practice what he preaches.
And the only reason we found out about this was under the Freedom of Information Act. So you always wonder, whenever these stories come to light, how many more that we have absolutely no clue about. And it bears mentioning this is the same day that the Tiser has put out an article about their then Child Protection Minister spending $62K on a trip to the UK, and no details can be revealed about it under cabinet confidentiality. So the taxpayers have forked out $62,000 for a trip to the UK. They have no idea why. What were you doing there? Under what pretenses was this? Even less accountability in that instance.
Yeah, honestly, this is the thing. It's bad enough federal politicians who sometimes have some international responsibilities, but the state politicians are all into us every year for overseas trips. Unbelievable stuff. I want to go back to the Extinction Rebellion protesters that stuffed up traffic in Melbourne yesterday, Justin. And we often, when we talk about these dimwits inconveniencing other people around the country, we worry about, who's held up. Are there people stopped from getting to medical appointments, or they stopped from getting to a job interview or visiting loved ones? And it turns out that yesterday a woman was forced to give birth on the side of the road because she was stuck in traffic because of these meatheads. This just goes to the selfishness of it, Justin, and that of course can be very, very dangerous when you're not giving birth in a hospital.
Yeah, it's stupid and dangerous, and it doesn't do anything for the cause. I mean, we've been down this track before when we've seen other protests like this. I mean, these people are doing as much for climate change as, say, the Nazis are as they walk down the street and do a Sieg Heil. They're doing as much for them thinking, oh, listen, as they think they're doing for the white race. Mate, you're not helping anybody out. This is the problem with extremism. But I'd tell you one thing, though. They've locked up 2 of these protesters in a late night sitting in court here for 21 days. Now, that's fine if they're going to do that. But I didn't realise in Victoria it was actually so easy to get locked up. Yeah, we've sort of been led to believe that it was incredibly hard to get locked away here, that we've allowed pedophiles to walk free. We keep putting home invaders on bail, and all of a sudden we can lock up 2 protesters. I think to me, it just doesn't.
Yeah, I think that was good to see.
The balance wrong here.
Yeah, well, I'm worried that they'll get out soon. There's been locked up in other states, these protesters, then they get an appeal and they're out. Liz, this is shocking. It goes to the point. I mean, there can be dire consequences when you hold up the major arterials of cities. It's not a minor matter.
100%. Imagine if something had gone wrong with that birth and we didn't have a healthy baby as a result. This would be an abject tragedy, and these guys would have blood on their hands, quite literally. We know that one of these is Coco Violet, or however she likes to be known. She has been jailed previously, and that got overturned on appeal. So I'm actually not too hopeful about this 21 days in lockup, because she's got a history of then wriggling out of that. So let's see if Victoria sticks to their guns.
She's been jailed before.
Don't try to guess when it comes to the Victorian court system. Do not try to preempt what they're thinking in their head, because it could be anything.
Well, I always say that these magistrates go light on these guys, because at the end of the day, many of them are on board with what these kids are barracking for. And we've seen that
beside
time
the
again.
issue. That should be beside the
They don't get locked up. They're not punished harshly, and that's why it keeps on happening.
We've got to go.
Don't do this. Don't lump everybody that believes that climate change is a problem. Don't lump us in with these idiots that are
I did not do that, Justin.
and endangering people's lives. I mean, it's just a really lame and easy thing to do.
Nobody said
it's a worry.
Justin.
It's a worry. Some of the judges are sympathetic. That's been seen.
We have yet to see proper punishment meted out in this country, and that is why it keeps happening.
I want to go to another issue and proper punishment, but as you point out, she was jailed before, but Violet didn't crumble.
Yes.
And excuse me for the dad joke.
How long have you been wanting to use that?